coming
You're an
up.
atheist, is that right?
That is true, yes.
And what does it mean to be an atheist?
The burden of proof is on religion, and it doesn't really hold up.
Amazing. So you don't believe that there is a God at all?
No, I don't.
I guess I should assume you don't believe there's a devil either, right? An
No.
evil spirit. How did you become that way? To believe that there's no God?
I grew up very Christian. I studied to be an evangelist.
Right.
I almost went to seminary school, and
You were an ordained minister at one time.
yeah.
Are
yeah.
you still an ordained minister?
Technically, yes, but like the online version of that, it was really a joke because I became ordained well after I was already an atheist.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just kind of.
So you just did it for the fun of it?
Yeah, I was staging a prank for a friend that I didn't end up going through with, but that was the initial reason. Is I was just like, I can't believe it's that easy that for $50 online I can tell people that I'm an ordained
amazing.
minister.
I have with me Jared Z., author of The Methodology of the Modern Male, dating coach, and radio host. Jared, tell them your last name.
Zawistowski.
Are you Russian?
It's Polish. It's phonetical. If you sound it out, you could pronounce it, but that's why I go by Jared time.
That's amazing.
Yeah, why? Just being Polish. By virtue of being Polish, you are amazing. Thank you. I'll take that.
You're an atheist, is that right?
That is true, yes.
And what does it mean to be an atheist to you?
Ooh, well, what it means to be an atheist to me is that I have studied the Bible extensively and several other religions, and I have found that the burden of proof is not great enough. The burden of proof is on religion, and it doesn't really hold up.
Amazing. So you don't believe that there is a God at all?
No, I don't.
I guess I should assume you don't believe there's a devil either, right? An
No,
evil spirit.
neither does your religion, really. Christianity, the word for Satan means adversary. It doesn't mean, Lucifer. They call, but a lot of the words that people use have been mistranslated. So you could reason that even anybody who criticizes religion is technically a Satan or a devil, because they're an adversary to it, right?
How did you become that way? To believe that there's no God?
I grew up very Christian. I studied to be an evangelist.
Right.
I almost went to seminary school, and
You were an ordained minister at one time.
yeah.
Are
yeah.
you still an ordained minister?
Technically, yes, but like the online version of that, it was really a joke because I became ordained well after I was already an atheist.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just kind of.
So you just did it for the fun of it?
Yeah, I was staging a prank for a friend that I didn't end up going through with, but that was the initial reason. Is I was just like, I can't believe it's that easy that for $50 online I can tell people that I'm an ordained
amazing.
minister. Yeah.
Wow. And so since you believe there is no God, where do you get your values from?
So that's a logical fallacy to believe that morality is innately biblical or that it comes from the Bible. The answer to that is when you look at Christianity, it changes based on our social constructs. So what that does is if you look at like the Old Testament, some of the things in the Old Testament, for instance, like stoning women for adultery or people being put to death for breaking the Sabbath, these were things that were totally culturally acceptable at the time. Now, if you worked on a Saturday, I doubt anybody would be calling for your head, right? Even in Christian religions.
Right.
So morality actually comes from humanity and human beings.
So are you saying you get your values directly from yourself or from other people?
I would say
How about you?
I would say that values come from the culture at the time.
Give me an example. I don't understand how people get their belief system from culture. Give me an example how you do that.
So, for instance, right, in Islam, for example, it was justified in culture at the time for the Prophet Muhammad to marry a 9-year-old and have sex with her.
Right.
And that was morally acceptable at that time. The Bible, for example, it was morally acceptable to completely kill people based on whatever God said at the time. Like there's a passage in 2 Samuel where God commands a whole bunch of people. He commands them to go out, kill every living thing.
So today, are you saying that your belief would be, yeah, that's no problem, and you would just go do it too? Because that's what the culture believes?
I'm saying that if obviously if I didn't know any better and that was the cultural norm at the time, there's a high probability that that's how I would feel.
But you wouldn't know better if you got your value from the culture, right?
Well, I mean, so look, like logically, you get your values from the culture too, because you.
No, but answer that for me so I can understand. I'm black and I'm slow.
I don't think that at all.
So are you saying that you would believe in that and you would just do it?
Who's to say that if that were the culture at the time, I wouldn't question that or I wouldn't feel like there's something wrong in this? I mean, like soldiers even today, when they go out and they kill another human being, they develop post-traumatic stress disorder. And I mean, again, I think that's a biological evolution that we, as human beings, kind of don't want to kill each other. That we kind of want to kill each other, but then at the same time when it happens, it's like, oh, this doesn't help the survival of the species, and it's going to, it's going to affect a person negatively. So when it comes to culture, everybody follows this whether they like it or not. You might question it at the time, like you might be a little bit more elevated and say, oh, we should probably stop doing this practice. Like right now in culture and society, we're saying that you shouldn't make jokes or make fun of people based on X, Y, and Z, right? And you have a whole group of people, the social justice community, that are saying that this is morally wrong and this is unjust.
Do you believe that?
I don't. I actually kind of believe that we should stay right here.
If you believe there's no God, your values are based on culture, predominant, whoever's leading the way. How do you determine right from wrong?
For me, personal liberty is probably the anchor, right? So if what I'm doing doesn't affect you, then and within reason, obviously, because I can speak and that can affect you in some way, right? We can have debate. Right. But if I'm not physically hurting you or physically inhibiting you in any way, I don't care what you do. I don't care what you believe. I believe that you have the right to do it. I'm a libertarian.
How about if it's harming you? When negative things are happening to you, are you able to determine this is wrong for me?
Absolutely, but that's relative, right?
Meaning what?
So we could say that living a life where you're totally fit and working out and you're on top of the world and you're pushing yourself every day is inherently better than going out drinking and doing drugs every night. But it's relative to the happiness you find as a result of that. So if you're going out drinking and you're chasing women and you're perfectly content with that, then there's nothing wrong with that. Now, obviously, I'm juxtaposing these because normally the fitness thing is what makes you happy. It creates endorphins, and the alcohol thing actually starts to mess with your brain chemistry and brings you down. But it's subjective, meaning that it's personal preference, and you can't say that somebody shouldn't be allowed to test this path or this path because you deem one of them right or wrong.
Amazing. One thing I wanted to ask you about, you said that values come from the Bible, right?
What? No.
You said that the Christians get their values from the Bible.
Christian values would come from the Bible, yes.
And why do you say that?
How would you know what a Christian value was if it didn't come from the Bible?
Do you know anyone personally who have gone to the Bible and got their Christian values from the Bible and been able to live them?
My youth pastor was probably the closest person to a definitive real Christian that I've ever met, somebody who really lived that book.
He lived it all the way?
Yes, he was.
How do you know? You weren't in his personal life and all that.
We ended up becoming friends after I left the church. He said, I don't care if you believe in God or not. I still love you, and I will continue to love you, and I'm going to be there for you in any way.
Why did he not care if you believe in God? I would want you to believe in God.
Well, see, and that's the fundamental crux of it, is that Christians have this moral high ground.
I'm not going to push it on you, but I would want it for you because I know that that's the right way to go for you.
But see, you believe that's right.
No, I know that's right.
But see, that's creating a moral narrative and then pushing that moral narrative on somebody.
I'm not going to force it on you. But I'm not going to tell you, you know what? I don't care if you believe in God or not. I'm just going to love you.
Well, and see, that's what Christianity.
But I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm just saying I'm not going to tell you that because I know. I got to ask you this. So since you don't believe there is a God, when those moments come when you feel that void, that emptiness inside, that something is wrong, you don't quite know what it is, in those moments when you're not busy, you're all alone, what do you do when those moments come?
But you're saying that fulfillment and joy and emotional happiness comes from belief in a
No,
religion
I just asked
or
the question,
deity.
what do you do when those moments come? I didn't say anything, I'm asking a question.
When those moments come, I don't know, you go watch a movie or you
That's
do
what
something
you
that
do?
makes you happy.
That's
Right?
what you do?
Yeah, but you're trying to associate that those things are innately caused
No,
by
I'm
a
just
lack
asking
of
a
God in my
question. I'm
life.
trying to know you. I'm
And
not associating anything.
a person
so I'm just
could
asking,
be-
when those moments come, what do you do, Jared? When those moments come, what do you do about it?
In general, I do something that I know would make me happy. So social interaction is a huge one. That's part of the reason why church works so well for people, is because they go out, they get that sense of community. I mean, you can very, very easily go out and hang out with friends, right? That's why people go out to bars, because it's social.
But that's like using a drug. That's what drug addicts do. That's what sex addicts do. That's what lying addicts do. When they feel those moments, they try to avoid those moments by reaching outside for something to make them feel better. And so you never get better because you're only temporarily better. Then those moments come back again, and then you have to find something else, and you become addicted to whatever you're using to overcome those moments.
Precisely, and that is exactly, so our human brain chemistry works to where we emotionally anchor to things. We create oxytocin and we bond. We create chemical addictions to things. I would also reason that people have become chemically addicted to the idea of God, and that you can physically bond to something that is not even there. So you can do the exact same thing to an idea that you've created in your head. And if you create God to exist, and that God is now, it's almost a piece of you, right? Because it's the interpretation that you've given it, and you created this thing in your mind.
Amazing.
You can then create a loop of serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin with an inanimate thing. So I do believe that you're absolutely correct, and that it's all kind of variations of addiction.
But that's not the thing to do, though.
But I think that that's kind of where people have gone with God, is that they've created a loop of addiction that constantly reaffirms itself. You could argue that those qualities are actually, yes, innately in human beings, and
Right.
that human beings created religion as a result of that.
Right.
And that it wasn't a God, it's just that is human. So people that say that, oh, morality can't exist without God. No, morality can't exist without people. People are what create morality. And it's interesting, and well, actually that's not even true, because we've seen morality exist within animals. Animals can actually behave in altruistic fashions. So it's
Well,
and which then
animal
again
morality.
also discredits religion, because where's the animal's God, right? Like why isn't he interacting with them? Why don't they get the same? They're not put through the exact same things that we are, right?
Animals have no choice but to do what they do and be the way that they are.
But
They
so that's the existence
whereas human
of
beings don't have to stay the way that they are. They can overcome it. But I got to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Were you close to your father and mother?
I was close with my mother, yes.
And where was your father?
He lives on the East Coast still.
He was not there with you while growing up?
No, he left pretty young.
Oh, I see. So you don't have a relationship with him?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I see. That's why you're an atheist. It is.
No, I don't think that is it at all.
No, 100%. I
would love to see the statistical
doubt
evidence
about
that says that men who grow up without fathers are more likely to be atheists than ones that are not.
Every man.
My dad was a very, very devout Christian. I was a very devout Christian my entire life growing up.
Every
So
man, woman,
point
and
is,
child.
That point is unfounded. I grew up a Christian, and then I made a conscious choice, even with my dad's example of Christianity, completely separate of that. I went off and chose to devote my life to God.
You just think
I
that
became
you
an
made that
atheist
decision.
because I looked at this book objectively, and I realized that I could not take it seriously. There were too many logical
Jared.
fallacies. There were too many inconsistencies.
Jared,
Yes.
the one thing I can promise you, that every human being who has not been raised close to an earthly father is not a child of God.